welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Fan Appreciation Month here on Reaction and Review. Tonight, guys, I'm checking out a film from 1997. That movie is Mimic. Now, I wish, guys, I could tell you anything about this movie, but I know two things. One, I know it's directed by Guillermo del Toro, which is totally cool. I've seen quite a few of his films, and they usually are at least decent. The only other thing I know, because details on the back are kind of sketchy, it has something to do with research scientists fighting against nature because genetic experimentation went horribly, horribly wrong. I had a coworker who tried to compare this thing to Species and a little bit like Splice. I hated Splice. I'm not a big fan of Species. I'm certainly hoping that those aren't marks against this thing. I do have hopes of Mimic being good, but the only way, guys, I'm going to find out if this thing is any good at all is if I shut up and I push play, and I'm going to do that right now. So, without further ado, it's time to kick back, relax, and check out Mimic. You know, guys, it's almost a little bit unsettling to see people from the CDC react in such a ho-hum fashion to a turd hanging off of the ceiling in an old chapel. Or shit, just fucking reacting to a turd on the ceiling the same way that one would react to a fly on your fucking wall. That just... wow, that was just a little bit unsettling. Guys, I am sorry. If I saw a gigantic pile of shit, like, affixed to my ceiling with about a foot-long turd dangling off it, I really think I would react a little bit more than, well, look at that. No, that honestly is kind of fucked up. I really think I would react a little bit more. So, let me see if I've got this straight. 3 years ago, the scientists sicked some kind of super fucking cockroach to kill the entire cockroach population in order to undo a fucking disease that was being carried by the cockroaches. But they never bothered to reclaim their specimens because they had developed their super breed to die after 6 months. Motherfucker, why the fuck wouldn't you collect your sample and guarantee that the damn things die after 6 months? Why is it that in every one of these films involving science gone horribly, horribly wrong, the scientists always have to be the dumbest motherfuckers on the planet? It really does render a lot of these movies completely shit. Jesus Christ. No, guys, I now have no reason to care about these characters. They brought this stupid bullshit upon themselves, and I hope that the giant mutant roaches that are going after them win. Because they do not deserve to live. You know, guys, I really, really wish I could, say anything else about this movie, but really the last 20 minutes have been a little bit dull. And I'm still trying to get over the fact that this is another movie that is only here because our main characters are the dumbest scientists on the planet and don't know how to field test things before sicking them on the fucking populace. I'm sorry, guys, that really does just sort of bother me a bit, and it's making everything here incredibly stupid, because technically none of this shit should even be fucking happening. And because none of our characters are fucking likable, our story is dragging at a snail's pace, it's really just sort of making the whole thing a little bit worse. Well, that was an incredibly bloody, death, especially since the guy was only stabbed in the back of the leg with cockroach arm, well, giant cockroach arms, but still, that was a lot of blood that sprayed out of his legs there. That was a little bit much. It also was kind of stupid. Kind of stupid is actually the perfect way to sum up everything I've seen in this film so far, so at least it hasn't changed much. Why the hell are these idiots pondering so hard about how the hell to get out of this old, worn-out subway fucking station? Above the subway car that all of them are hiding in right now are windows. You could break the windows, fashion a fucking ladder, climb out, and you'd be on the surface like that. Why the hell are they thinking about going through the tunnels and having to deal with these stupid fuck-off 6-foot-tall cockroaches? That doesn't make a lick of sense at all. I understand, guys, that this movie's about as mentally retarded as a movie can get. But Jesus Christ, can they pull their head out of their ass long enough to note that there's moonlight pouring through those fucking windows? You could probably get to the surface in probably about 5 minutes if you have a strong enough wire or rope, something that you can climb on. Good God. I had hopes, guys, going into this movie. I really thought it was going to be good or interesting or fun. No, it fucking isn't. This is torturous. Well, guys, good news. It took almost the entire movie, but one of these fucking geniuses has finally figured out that it might be a good idea to try to set these gigantic roaches on fucking fire. I'm actually kind of surprised it took them this fucking long, though, to figure out that yes, if you set a cockroach on fire, it's gonna fucking die. But you see, I kind of sort of came to the understanding that the characters in this film are about as dumb as possible. About what, half hour in? So I guess it honestly shouldn't fucking shock me. It took them almost an hour after that to finally discover that yes, fire is hazardous to cockroaches. Well, guys, that was Mimic. Sweet, gentle fuck. Let's just shut that off. Holy shit. I actually feel like I may have become stupider having watched this film. Holy shit. Okay, so, God, where to fucking start? You know what? I'm going to start with writing, and I'm going to break this down into multiple bits, because we have our characters, we have our story, but of course we have the big issue. The big issue is, for a film about a bunch of scientists, this film has no sense at all about scientific logic, theory, or just general logic at all. Let me try to explain the plot to you guys. So, 3 years ago, there was this illness that was focused entirely on Manhattan. And it had some fancy-ass name, but it basically is a more lethal form of polio that only impacts children. If the child survives, their legs are going to be permanently in braces. That's really all that they ever fucking say about this illness. So this couple, one of them is a bug expert, the other one works for the CDC, decide that they're going to create these they're going to create these super cockroaches that are going to kill all the other cockroaches, because the cockroaches are the carrier of this fucking overblown version of polio. So they make 3 of them. They basically dump them into a single nest colony hive. I don't know what the fuck a bunch of cockroaches is called. Which happens to be the only one in all of Manhattan. I did not know that every cockroach in all of Manhattan were all focused on one little colony. That basically is almost like imagining that every single bee in Green Bay all comes from the same hive. It's kind of fucking stupid, but yet that's what the movie wants us to believe. Now, do they bother to collect their super, roaches? Well, no, because they were fucking genetically built to only last for 6 months. Did they test this? Apparently fucking not. So now, 3 years later, their super roaches, who were supposed to be sterile, aren't. We're only supposed to live 6 months. Don't. So now they've been able to grow and evolve, and generation after generation passed. The roaches are now 6 feet tall and react to blood the same way that a fucking shark does. So, and they apparently now are hunting humans. They've been down in these subway tunnels for 3 years. Nobody has bothered to see them because they're in a more like centralized part of the fucking subway tunnel / sewer system. I didn't know that the subways and the sewers worked off the same set of tunnels. I had no earthly clue. And now our couple who started all of this, who still have a hard time believing that their untested genetically modified roaches are the reason for all of this shit, team up with a shoe polisher and his fucking ambiguously autistic son and one black cop, and a friend of the CDC officer, they all, somehow, someway, through sheer fucking ass-pull bullshit, wind up in the exact same set of tunnels where all the roaches happen to be, and they all kind of sort of bumblefuck into each other, so that way they can fight off the roaches, and once they're all together, well, once most of them are together, it then turns into a fucking zombie movie. And do you want to know, guys, do you guys know that idiotic thing that's been worked into zombie films recently, where if you cover yourself in blood and guts and entrails, you basically are able to blend in with the fucking zombies? Apparently that same stupid plan works for cockroaches too, because if you cover yourself in cockroach goo, then you're totally fine. Cockroaches are not even going to pay any goddamn attention to you unless you're bleeding, at which point then they are just going to all swarm on you and kill you instantly. It takes the film 90 minutes to finally figure out that, yeah, cockroaches can be killed by flame. A little bit of a spoiler, the guy who triggers the massive goddamned explosion that kills them all, mind you, he is in the epicenter of the fucking explosion, survives, and that explosion apparently must have been traveling down the gas lines. Instead of blowing up the buildings that the gas lines led to, wound up blowing up the sewers in a multi-block radius, because fuck you, that's why. Oh my god. Guys, there's nothing in this film. I just gave you the entire plot. Okay, yeah, there we go. Spoiler, and also one of the characters is pregnant. Why? Reasons. I honestly haven't told you who all dies. I told you one character who lives. And he shouldn't have lived since he was in the middle of a motherfucking explosion, an explosion that he caused, but was able to jump into a body of fucking water like 2 seconds after the explosion hit, and he isn't even singed. That, guys, is the entire plot. It is the biggest case of idiot plot I have ever seen. I have not seen writing this stupid in a long, long time, guys. I'm going to tell you right now. Way back in the 1950s, when these sorts of films were common, when science gone mad, monster movies were a thing, usually the scientists in the film admitted that they fucked up. They basically stated that man should not be allowed to play God. Here, we basically have an offhanded, it can't be us because we made these things to die after 6 months. We didn't bother to collect them. We didn't bother to burn all of the bodies of the illness-carrying roaches in order to guarantee that nobody can make physical contact with them and thus once more cause another outbreak of the same fucking illness. And by setting all of them on fire, they could have very well have set on fire the 3 live super roaches, thus undoing all of this. No, none of that happens. Why? Because this movie is so goddamn retarded it needs a fucking helmet. That's why. Holy shit. The worst part, guys, about that is I'm looking at the one lone blurb on this fucking Blu-ray case. It's actually right on the back, and it's from CBS TV. A smart, hip adrenaline rush. This thing is only smart if you are a 4-year-old in a special ed class. There's no way in shit this movie is smart. This movie is about, this thing, guys, is by far one of the stupidest things I've seen all year. The writing is that dumb. We don't have a single character who has 2 brain cells that they can fucking rub fucking together. We have nothing here. Our writing is horrible. Now, not only, guys, do we have a story that is absolutely built on sheer fucking idiocy. Every one of our characters are completely unlikable. Okay, I mentioned our ambiguously autistic child Chewie earlier. He really has no personality outside of he can tell you the make, size, and color of people's shoes as they walk by him, and he's able to make little figurines out of wire because he has this pathological urge to collect all the fucking wire that he sees. That is it for his character depth. His father, Manny, his entire personality is he has an accent. Our cop Leonard, his whole personality can be summed up to, he's a cop, he's black, and he's foul-mouthed. That's it. That's it. I have just summed up 3/5 of our main characters here. The other 2 are a pregnant woman and her boyfriend. One of them is a bug expert. The other one works for the fucking CDC, and apparently neither of them know how fire, explosions, cockroaches, and diseases actually fucking work. There's nothing in this film that has any level of redeeming value in terms of story or characters. And because the characters are all so flat, so lifeless, and when they do have when they do have a small, brief spark of personality, they're absolutely unlikable. This whole movie's a waste. Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, the motherfucking 6-foot-tall killer cockroaches in this movie are more likable than the five idiots we have to follow throughout this entire motherfucking movie. The last time I saw a movie which had likable cockroaches was Joe's fucking Apartment, and Joe's Apartment deliberately made the cockroaches likable. In this thing, the cockroaches are just bland, ho-hum, B fucking level movie, monsters, and they have more personality and more likability than any named character in this fucking movie. Holy shit. Okay. So, our writing here is about as stupid as you will ever fucking see, but what about the acting? I can say at least this much. The acting is decent. The acting actually is really solid. I'm going to say that much. Every single person who comes into this movie is putting in a top-notch effort, which is honestly a fucking miracle considering how, just considering how knuckle-draggingly stupid the script is. At least our cast came in and put in a top-notch effort and actually made the movie almost worth, watching in hopes that all these characters would fucking die. So I am gonna have to give mad props to the actors for at least making this disastrous wreck a little bit watchable by the fact that they actually tried to make this fucking script work. So bravo, guys. I really wish that you would have been given a better script back in 1997, but at least you were able to make the fucking best of it, and that's awesome. Okay? The acting here, guys, is great. I, again, just wish that the writing was better. Oh boy. Special effects. The only real special effects we have here are our 6-foot-tall cockroaches. And when it comes to the cockroaches, those are also done really well. The cockroaches are done with a combination of suit work, puppeteering, CG, and I swear to God there was one shot that actually looked almost like it was done in stop motion. So they kind of looked like they were doing everything with these cockroaches, and I'm going to tell you, the cockroaches are done in an incredibly decent manner. I'm going to tell you right now, the CG really hasn't aged well. However, though, by 1997 standards, this here is some top-notch CG on these fucking roaches. And everything else, guys, the suit work and the puppeteering, all of that is done great. So even though we have a story that is mentally dead, and we have characters who are about as likable as a violent case of AIDS, at least our cockroaches look awesome. So great, that is totally cool. And everything that isn't the cockroaches, everything which is stuff like like car stunts, explosions, models and all that fun shit, all of that's also done incredibly well. So at least in this case, special effects are great. Sound mix. I don't normally get to talk about sound mix much, but I noticed throughout the movie, at least early on, I had to keep turning my volume either up or down because certain scenes here are not balanced well. And when I say that, I mean, like, we will have a shot with two kids who are being fucking attacked by these cockroaches and they're screaming. The volume on that scene is so goddamn loud, I had to almost mute my TV. It was that loud. And then the next scene is almost blitheringly quiet, so I then had to turn the volume back up. Now, mind you, they fixed that in the second half, but in the first half, you basically had to fuck with the volume every other scene. You were either turning it down because the fucking scene was too loud, or you were turning it up because you had to turn it down because the last scene was too fucking loud. It would have been nice if they could have balanced that out a little bit. It would actually have made this thing at least a little bit more fucking tolerable, but it is certainly worth, mentioning. It's really not often that I get to talk about sound mix and not bitch about things and not have to bitch about things like dubbed in fucking dialogue. At least, any of that was in here was done well. It was just more about the sound levels, which is almost unforgivable, but But hey, once more, at least they fixed it in the second half of the film, so at least I can say that much. Our score here is really good. Our lighting is, god damn it, the lighting. All right, lighting is good for about 98% of the movie. There's one fucking scene I can absolutely cite as a terribly lit scene, and it's when our main character Susan, who is our pregnant bug expert, stumbles into the sewer when every other character is randomly when everyone else is all sort of bumbling into the same fucking tunnel system. When she bumbles into it, there's a scene where she meets up with one of the roaches and she has to stab it with like a length of pipe or something. Or no, wait, correction. Susan actually was captured by a cockroach and dumped into the tunnels because we needed a reason for her to go in there. Why not just dump her in there by fucking force? But the scene where at least I'm going to assume that she was supposed to be fighting off one of the cockroaches and she stabs it with, again, I'm going to assume it was like a length of pipe. That scene is so dimly fucking lit, you can barely see what the hell is going on. The only reason why I'm going to assume that there was a cockroach in that goddamn shot is because one of the two things on frame was large and rather fucking shiny. It looked kind of sort of slimy and shit. So I'm going to assume that was supposed to be our cockroach. If they would have spent 30 seconds and actually tried to light that fucking scene, it might have been a little bit better. However, that though is the one and only poorly lit scene I can honestly cite. Everything else here is lit great. God, is there anything else to really talk about? No, that actually about covers everything. So, am I able to recommend Mimic? Personally, no. But I will say that it also is because when I go into movies about science gone fucking wrong, I like there to be at least some level of logic in there. Otherwise, I feel as if the movie is insulting my goddamned intelligence. Now, if you're able to turn off, if you're able to turn off your brain for about, 90 minutes? 112 minutes. Okay, I'm sorry, the movie's actually 112 minutes. If you are able to turn off your brain for 112 minutes, and you want to see what effectively boils down to a zombie film involving cockroaches, then you might actually enjoy this. I personally, though, am not able to recommend it. It was honestly just not that fucking good. But yeah, I honestly can totally recommend it if you honestly are just looking for a dumb horror movie, and I'm going to put a huge emphasis on dumb. Then by all means, go right ahead, watch it. You will probably absolutely love it. Myself, it's just way too stupid for me, and mind you, I like watching stupid films. I love watching stuff like Battlefield Earth and the Garbage Pail Kids movie. This fucking thing is too stupid even for me. So you can take from that what you fucking will. Now, because it's Fan Appreciation Month, Mimic came off the Amazon wishlist. The person who sent it in is a YouTuber by the name of Taking of Pelhamiffy. I still hope I'm pronouncing that right, dude, because I always feel like I'm fucking it up, and it just makes me feel weird. But dude, I thank you. I was really curious about this movie, specifically because I know that Guillermo del Toro can make some good films. And I knew that he had writing credit on this, and he also directed it. I had high hopes. Unfortunately, this movie was not as good as I had hoped. It honestly was just way too stupid for, words. But dude, I honestly would not have known that if you hadn't sent it in, and for that, I thank you. His YouTube channel, guys, is youtube.com/user/taking of Pelhamiffy. Swing over there. Check out everything that he has. Once more, dude, I thank you. I really wanted to like this movie, but unfortunately, it just was not for me. Now, I kind of feel like watching another movie about science gone horribly wrong, and I want to find one that's decent. I know I have most of the fucking Godzilla series on Blu-ray. Maybe I'll just go grab a few of those. I'm just going to go and marathon the fuck out of them. Seeing as how I just watched something with giant cockroaches, I think Godzilla versus Megalon is a good spot to start. So that way Godzilla can roast a gigantic cockroach, and I can just pretend it's one of the retarded cockroaches from this goddamn movie. Anyway, guys, with that, we come to the close of another reaction and review. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care, and I will see you all in the near future. Peace.